All right, greetings everybody, and welcome to week number 6. That is right, week number 6 of your 9489 class, which is your cultural heritage class. As always, I'm your professor, Dr. J.S.K. Austin, and what we are going to do today is we're going to have a state of the course update that's probably going to take, actually, this one might be a little longer, might take about 10 minutes. Go ahead and speed me up. Might take about 10 minutes unsped up. And then after that, I am going to brag on my family a little bit, because I'm going to share some news about my sister, but I am going to tie that back to cultural heritage so that you all are not like, okay, why did Dr. Jace just waste our time talking about his sister? No, I am going to tie it back to cultural heritage, and you'll see how I do it. So yes, it's going to make sense once I do it. And that little part that I'm going to talk about relating to my sister is probably only going to take 5 minutes at the most, between 5 and 10 minutes. So this could be a 20-minute check-in video. Again, speed it up, and that way you won't have to listen to me talk too slowly. So let's go ahead and jump into that state of the course update. The first thing I wanted to say was, yes, so Dr. Benjamin, who was with us last week, did a very good job, I feel, of just kind of inspiring discussion. Okay, so she focuses a lot on heritage tourism, and that's what her research mostly centers on. But we got off the subject, for those of you who stayed around until the end or stayed around after, which quite a few of you did, and I was very happy about that. It wasn't a requirement, but the fact that you all did it meant a lot, and certainly it meant a lot to her as well. I've spoken to her via email since the class, and she was very happy with the time that she spent with us. Again, what I want to bring that back to is we did kind of get away from heritage tourism, and we were just talking really a lot about race during the discussion after most of you had left. But I do want to say that all of that still does tie into and holds a relevancy within cultural heritage and within this within the goals of this course. And the reason that I feel that things still stayed true to the goals of this course and didn't get too off topic is because one theme that I noticed as the conversation went on, and again, those of you who left right at 7:50 p.m. You all may have missed that, and that is okay. You are not getting knocked. I am not knocking you at all for leaving. You are only required to be there as long as you're required to be there. So don't feel that Dr. Chase feels any kind of way about that. I don't. But what I do want to say is, for those who didn't stick around, a theme that was starting to emerge as we had that conversation go on, and it went on actually for about went on for another 30 minutes. I'm sorry, the class ended at 8:30, not 7:50. I'm thinking about the spring, about the fall. I apologize for that. Spring. So yeah, with the spring, it was an hour and a half class that ended up having like 30 minutes worth of optional discussion. And what I think kind of came out during that optional discussion is that we do all have very similar core concerns when it comes to visiting places that are inhabited by other people, respecting their cultures, and also just kind of patronizing like events put on by other cultures and that sort of thing. I'm trying to make myself make sense here, but what I'm really saying here is that we talked about concerns that Black people may have going into certain places, but that also spun into a discussion about concerns that white people may have. White people may have going to Black businesses or being in Black communities and that sort of thing. And it also spawned, because the world is not black and white. In fact, most of the world is not black and white. We have people of colors throughout the spectrum, and we have lots of cultures and lots of populations of people who would not be considered Black or white in the census. And what I want to say to that is, even for students in this class who do not identify as Black or as white, they were able to voice concerns as well. And one theme that I noticed was that the concerns really are similar. We do have similar concerns about, how to behave when we are in a place that our culture is not the dominant culture, right? That's what I'm trying to get at. And so when we all have these similar concerns, or basically the same concerns, just through the lenses of different populations, I think that again goes back to why cultural heritage is important, which you've heard me talk about before, and I'll talk about again. I feel that cultural heritage is important because it reveals how similar we are, even in the midst of our differences, right? Because, like, yes, you might hear some music and you might be able to tell from the way the music sounds, oh, that's quote unquote black music. If it's, I don't know, blues or jazz or hip hop or R&B, or you might say it's quote unquote white music. If it's bluegrass, for instance, or something of that nature, or current metal or something like that. Or you might say that some music is Latin music or Hispanic music if it's salsa or some of these other types of music, right? We might recognize the differences in the music and recognize that these are different musics associated with different cultures, but we still come back to the issue of every culture makes music. That is in our DNA, folks. Even though we are different, we are so alike. And that is what I want to be one of the pullaways that you all get out of this class, that we still, even amid our differences, we have so many similarities and so many things that we can relate to each other with. And so I feel that that is the beauty of it's the beauty of the human experience. Let me pause for one moment. So yeah, I just want you all to keep that in mind. I think that when we are vulnerable enough to come to the table and say that we have similar concerns and similar things that kind of worry us and that sort of thing, it does allow us to see, again, how similar we actually are. And I'm going to go back to the neighborhoods as an example really quick and say that, I do, whether you all want to admit it or not, I do think that there are a lot of people who are not black who would hesitate or be a little afraid to go into a black working class neighborhood, right? I think that that's actually a common disposition. But what you may not know is, yeah, there are black people who do not feel comfortable going into white neighborhoods, whether it's because we feel that the police are going to profile us and wonder why we're there, or whether or not we just see a few Confederate flags and decide, hey, this might not be the white neighborhood that I need to be in. We have similar experiences, okay? And so, we have similar experiences, but what I meant to say is that we have similar concerns. We have similar tics. We have similar things that worry us and trouble us and things that keep us up, okay? And if we recognize these things, I think that that can be barrier breaking. Okay, enough with that. Let's go ahead and do the state of the course update really quick. What you all really need to have on your radars right now is just to be thinking of, and you have a little less than a month to do this, so it's not like something that's urgent, but I do want you all to be thinking about who you might want to do your mini interview with a cultural heritage worker, who you might want to do this assignment with. And again, this doesn't have to be a complicated assignment. It should be 5 easy points. You can do more if you want, but it can be as simple as you sending the questions via email and letting the person answer them via email, and then you post in the Q&A. It can be that simple. I usually don't like Q&As as a form of assignment submission, but in this case, I'll allow it, because in this case, yes, Q&A is actually probably the easiest way for your classmates to get this information. And again, this is a vocational guidance assignment. This is an assignment that is meant to assist you with, okay, these are the types of things that I can do as a cultural heritage worker aside from library work, or, even in addition to library work. If you want to be a librarian, but you want to have a part-time job, these are some of the things that you may be able to look at. Okay, so be keeping that in mind. And then the last thing that I want to mention is, yes, this week we do our music modules. So music is a form of intangible cultural heritage. However, the sheet music or the instruments and that sort of thing, those things are tangible cultural heritage. So you do have overlap in this case. Yes, music it makes use of both the tangible and the intangible. You can't have one without the other when it comes to musical cultural heritage. So it's like love and marriage. If you remember that old show, Married with Children, you can't have one without the other. So all of you have been assigned a documentary, but what I want you all to be aware of is that if you want to trade out your documentary for a different documentary, then like the prompt says, you can go ahead and send me a message if there's a particular documentary that you want to watch instead. However, I do have to approve, because I don't consider every music documentary to really be cultural heritage-y, for lack of a better term. Don't get me wrong, because music is cultural heritage, there is a cultural heritage element tied to pretty much any documentary about music, if we're going to go by the base of, like, the most basic sense of what cultural heritage is. But what I'm going to say is I do want these to be tied to a culture or to a place, right? So like a music documentary could be a documentary about Michael Jackson. And yes, that would still be cultural heritage in a way. But unless that documentary is talking a lot about Black, African American musicians as well, and the stuff that they go through, or if it's talking about Gary, Indiana, where Michael Jackson is from, or those sorts of things, unless it's doing that, it really doesn't fit the purview of what I'm trying to do with this class, okay? So all of you have been assigned not cultural heritage, you've been assigned music documentaries that are tied to a particular culture or a particular place for the most part. So like, and I see America's Music Journey right below me as I'm recording this, but there are some, we have assigned documentaries this semester that deal with Jewish music, or that deal with music in Surrey County, North Carolina, or that deal with music in St. Louis or Kansas City. Or you have some things that are tied to particular cultures, right? But these things do not focus on individuals or a group of individuals, which a lot of music documentaries actually do focus on an individual or a group of individuals. And that's not what we're trying to do here. I think that tends to make the thing more biographical and less about culture and cultural heritage. So I hope that made sense. But if you do want to do a different documentary, by all means, reach out to me and see if I approve it. The worst I could do is tell you no, okay? And so with that said, I'm going to talk about my sister for a little bit, but I'm going to, because we're done with the state of the course update, but I assure you, I'm going to tie this back and make it obvious as to why this fits with cultural heritage. Stay tuned. Okay, so why is Dr. Jace talking about his sister? Why is Dr. Jace going to make you all listen to him talk about his sister? Well, first of all, I'm not going to make you all listen to me talk about my sister, because this is an optional video. But if you are watching the check-in video and you are willing to stick around and listen to me talk about my sister, here is what I'm going to say. So this is a picture of my sister right here. This is Tanika Austin. And this is our home county. Warren County Board makes appointments to key county positions. And you'll see here that my sister, Tanika Austin, who is also a librarian, just like her brother, my sister will be becoming the director of our home county library in March. She has been appointed the director of Warren County Memorial Library. So my sister is the county librarian of our home county library. Now, why I wanted to talk about this is because we have very, very long-standing roots within Warren County, North Carolina. So I'm going to do a little Google search here. And Cherry Hill Plantation. So, this is not true of most Black people in this country, but it is true of my family, and it is true of most of the Black people who reside in my home county of Warren County, North Carolina. A lot of us, including myself and my sister, and my older brother, we actually grew up in the same county that our ancestors were enslaved in. So the Alston family, the Alstons were a very, very rich white family during the days of slavery in Warren County, North Carolina. So Warren County, North Carolina now in 2024 is one of the poorest counties in North Carolina. But during the slave days, it was actually one of the richest counties in North Carolina. And that was because it was producing a lot of agriculture, a lot of tobacco, a lot of cotton, and a lot of other things. And the White Alstons, who this is part of that White Alston family here, these people are where we got our names from, or our surname from. We got the Alston surname from these powerful slave owners in this county. And if you go to Warren County, North Carolina, you will see, if you go there and look through a phone book or look up county records or something like that, most of the White Alstons are actually gone. They're not there anymore. They took their wealth and they split because the county is poor now. But with the black, and it is a majority black county in North Carolina, with the Black Alstons, the Black Alstons make up about 1 out of every 6, I believe, 1 out of every 6 black people, or it might be 1 out of every 7, something like that. But 1 out of every 6 or 1 out of every 7 black people in Warren County, North Carolina is an Alston. And I'm probably related to all of them if you go that far enough. Now, if you go that far enough, we're all related in some way, because there is a mitochondrial Eve. You can Google that. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about that here. But what I am going to say is the cultural element, the cultural heritage element of this is that, oh goodness, what happened? Okay. Yeah, the cultural heritage element of that is when you actually look at the evolution of surnames, of last names, the names of family names, these surnames actually are very important in helping people trace genealogy. It's important to help people, excuse me. It's important for helping people actually know the origins, the historic origins of their families, where their families may have come from in the old world, assuming that, or in other lands, assuming that people are not indigenous, which a lot of people are indigenous. So I don't want you to, if you are indigenous, please don't feel a certain way about how I phrase that. I probably could have phrased it better. But if you're not an indigenous American or a Native American, then surnames often also go a long way in helping you trace back, what are the origin stories, what is the history, and what are some of the things that your ancestors accomplished and were into, especially prior to their arrival in the United States, or in what's currently seen as the United States, right? So these surnames actually play a large part in cultural heritage, and it's an understated part in cultural heritage. Knowing who the powerful families are, knowing who the long existent families and family surnames are in a particular town helps you actually unearth a lot of the history of that town. And when you see new surnames coming into an area, especially a rural area, it helps you learn more and more about how that area was developed in the history of that area, who was coming in, when they were coming in, and all of that sort of thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm also going to put in a little link here. This I'm actually going to add. This will be an optional reading, but I'm going to add this to the announcement. And so if you want to talk about, if you want to read about how surnames are just important to the whole cultural heritage phenomenon, then this is a free reading that you can read, and it's fairly recent, from last year, that can kind of give you a quick introduction into that. And what I want to circle back to, however, with this is that it's historical. It is historical whenever somebody is, whenever they go from a place of oppression or a place of little power to being, I don't want to say, a person of importance, because I feel all people are important, but maybe a person of notoriety. And I would say that my sister being the county librarian for Warren County, North Carolina, that gives her a certain notoriety within Warren County, North Carolina. She is a head of a government department, right? So there is a significance to that. There's a significance to going from our people being enslaved on the Cherry Hill plantation, not being allowed to read and write on the Cherry Hill plantation, to going all the way from that to becoming librarians, and the head librarian in the county. That is a big deal. And small towns throughout this country are full of stories like this. So if you're from a rural area or from a small town, think about, just kind of think about that. Think about the surnames that are most prevalent in your small town, right? And just kind of think about, okay, why are these the surnames that are so prevalent here? In Warren County, in addition to Austin, you find a lot of people with the last name Hargrove and with the last name Perry. Those are very, very common surnames in North Carolina. In Warren County, North Carolina. And there is a specific reason why those became the big surnames in Warren County, North Carolina. There are reasons for that. And so I would challenge you, if you want to know a little bit more about the place that you come from, particularly if the place that you come from is a small town or a rural area, then by all means, do some research on the prominent families and how they got there. And you may be surprised, and you may see that some of the people who are mayors of these small towns or county managers or holding big parts of, police chiefs, holding status within these places, a lot of times they are descendants of immigrants who had nothing, right? And there is a beauty to that. There is something about that that is amazing and valuable and precious to me. So, yeah, I went a little bit over, but not too much over. So let's go ahead and end it here. I am Dr. Jace. And, yes, my sister is about to run the place, and she's going to do a fantastic job. I will see you all next week with a new check-in video.